That first night together, Marcellus and I cracked open a few beers and headed back to my place for a full confession session. The rules were simple. I ask, he answers. So, I began, was it love at first sight for you? Marcellus chuckled, his long, elegant fingers tracing the rim of his beer can. Yes and no. Speak English. He took a slow sip. Love at first sight, sure. But not the first time we met, at least. Not the way you remember it. I frowned, trying to wrap my head around that. Then Marcellus dropped the truth bomb. He'd first spotted me on the day I interviewed for my new job. The weather had been brutal. Thunder crashing, lightning splitting the sky, traffic at a standstill. I'd jumped out of a taxi and sprinted toward the office building, only to stumble right into a minor accident. A luxury sedan had barreled around the corner without braking, its tires skidding on the rain-slick asphalt until it clipped a middle-aged delivery driver on an e-bike. The man was sprawled on the pavement, a thin trail of blood pooling beneath him. A crowd stood gawking from the sidewalk. Someone had called 911, but no one moved to help. The sedan peeled out, committing a textbook hit and run. The delivery driver was left alone, soaked to the bone in the downpour. My heart twisted. I hesitated for a split second, then jogged over, holding my umbrella over him until the paramedics arrived. I'd assumed that incident killed my chances. I was late, soaking wet, and clearly flustered. But when I finally walked into the interview, the hiring manager seemed to know exactly who I was. After a few standard questions, they hired me on the spot. Now, years later, Marcellus finally admitted it. He'd been passing by that day. He'd seen a skinny girl, shivering in the icy wind, cheeks flushed red from the cold, still shielding the stranger with her umbrella. And then he'd stepped forward to help, only to overhear me muttering to myself, "Damn it, this interview is toast. My parents are going to kill me if I have to borrow rent money again." Seeing that sweet, clumsy girl holding her ground in the storm, completely oblivious to how she looked, had struck him as downright adorable. I blinked, stunned. "That's it?" Marcellus nodded, dead serious. "That's it. Love really does hit like a tornado. There's no logic to it. A few beers later, though, something else clicked. Wait," I said, "how did the hiring manager even know about me helping out? I sent him a photo of you under the umbrella." "How did you even know I was interviewing there?" Marcellus shrugged. "I didn't. Just a hunch. There weren't many offices around, and they were hiring like crazy." "Fair enough." I sighed, impressed. Our firm is actually pretty decent. Most places don't give a damn about good deeds. Hell, nailing a killer PowerPoint usually scores more points than basic human decency. Marcellus paused. "Actually, the firm isn't that forgiving to everyone." I shot him a look. "What do you mean?" He chugged the rest of his beer, crushed the empty can in his fist, and winked. "Because the CEO is my father." My jaw dropped. "Wait, so your mom?" She was bored, so she took an anonymous gig there. Part hobby, part keeping tabs, spying like a pro. I knew our CEO looked young and was incredibly loaded. Office girls had flocked to his door like moths for years. No wonder Celeste, the CEO's wife, was so good at scaring them off. And thinking back, the ones who had chased him the hardest had all resigned rather mysteriously. Smart move. The wife goes undercover, personally weeding out the gold diggers for her man. But I tilted my head, looking up at him. "So, from the start, your mum knew about you and me?" I kept it vague. my cheeks burning. Marcellus grinned. Hell no! Otherwise, do you think she would have pushed me to make you my godmother? I stared at him. What? She liked you. You didn't kiss up to the boss. You were hard-working, and there wasn't a vain bone in your body. Plus, she was convinced I wasn't interested in women, so she dragged you into a sisterhood, then got the wild idea to make you my godmother. She was hoping you'd nudge my love life in the right direction. I rolled my eyes, piecing it together. So, that random good deed on interview day had caught Marcellus's eye. He'd guessed it was his dad's firm and sent the photo ahead as a nudge. I'd landed the job by chance. Then, because I wasn't flirting with the boss, Celeste took a shine to me. Assuming her son was hopeless, she'd skipped the matchmaking and went for the godmother ploy instead. She never saw it coming. I'd straightened out her precious boy, evolving from his gal pal into his future daughter-in-law. I slammed back a gulp of ice-cold beer. It felt like I was living in a damn spy thriller, layers upon layers. The confession game was halfway done. Marcellus had spilled it all. Then it was my turn. He sipped his drink, leaning in close. I could catch the faint, sharp tang of whiskey on his breath. Marcellus's eyes raked over me, slow and deliberate, his lips curving into a smirk. Mackenzie Burns, so how are you going to make up for mistaking me that night? Why drag that up again? I licked my lips, testing the waters. That's ancient history, right? Nope. His denial was flat and final. It scarred me deep. He smirked, bracing a hand on the wall and caging me in the corner of the sofa. His voice dropped an octave, rough and dangerous. Right, godmother? Deadly. I turned away, my pulse hammering against my throat. Fine. What kind of compensation do you want? He grinned at the question. Simple. Reenacted. Sober this time. I froze for 2 beats, then chugged the rest of my beer in one go, too late. I'm drunk. Marcellus chuckled, his palm cupping the back of my head. Warmth hit my lips. Missed the window. And then the bastard really did recreate the scene, proving, once and for all, that he was a total, suave scoundrel polished by day and a devil underneath.